Yo, what's going on, friends and family? Good to see you. A little rowdy today. I like it. We had some defectors this morning. A couple of you did me a favor and attended the 11 o'clockers. Switched to the dark side, came to the 9 o'clock service. So hopefully you got a little more room. If you ever want to come to the 9 o'clock, it's identical service, identical kids ministry, guest services, the whole deal. And so if you ever want to come there, then you got a couple of hundred people there that love you, family and friends. So if you're joining us online, what's up? I'm glad you're here. Thanks for crashing a party in the book of James. If you're new here, we're doing the book of James. James was the half-brother of Jesus and wrote a book after Jesus died and resurrected that we're going through chapter by chapter. It is week 3 of the series, and we are still in chapter 1. Which by my calculations puts us finishing somewhere in 2027. And so if you don't have your James journal, we had a few of them left in the back, then you can grab them and follow along. So we're still in James chapter 1, but I got to tell you something. I don't know if you know this, if you can tell by the way I look or not, but I grew up in a fishing family. My family had a boat. Let me show you the boat. My brother and I, this is my brother Stephen. Aw, what happened? Oh, boy. This is us in the boat, and my dad would carry us fishing. We'd do the boat at the lake, the river. We'd go to the beach. Here's another me catching an absolute unit of a fish. So big, I had to hold it with 2 hands. Here's another one. That's my brother behind me with a look of defeat on his face as my hand. You can tell I don't like holding the fish because I'm holding it with just with my fingertips. I'm scared of it or it's slimy or something, but that's how it is. Here's a pic of me at the pier with some questionable attire on. Hope that doesn't make anybody stumble in here. Speaking of questionable attire, here's another picture of me at the pier. Do you, what in the Tommy Bahamas going on here? Old Panama Jack. You know the amount of confidence you got to have to wear a hat like that in public? Either confidence or an extreme lack of self-awareness, one of the two. My mom, Mama Klein, and Big Chief sent me those pictures this week. Whether it's fresh or salt water, whether it's in a boat or in a dock. I bought this from Walmart this week just for illustrative purposes, so don't think that this is what I was dealing with back then. Fishing is really only one thing. Fishing is trying to lure a fish with a fake bait, trying to convince a fish that this is the real thing and getting them to make a regretful decision. I call that temptation. The Bible is going to call that too. James writes about temptation in James chapter 1. We're in week 3. It appears as though James has a serious case of ADHD because he is all over the place, all in one chapter. We start out by talking about the trials and the tests that we're going to face. And he talks about that for 4 verses. And then in verse 5, he jumps and he says, and hey, have we talked about wisdom yet? Do you know where you can get wisdom? And let me tell you what wisdom is. And he talks about that for 5 or 6 verses. And then in verse 12, like he has another moment where he darts off into another direction where it goes from trials to wisdom to, have we talked about temptation? Has anybody been tempted lately? Let me tell you about temptation. And just all over the place. But we're going to see how he weaves it all together in this text that we're going to look at today. Real quick, before we open it up, the response to our R groups this season was like wild. We didn't have enough R groups for the people that wanted to sign up. We have some of our small groups that have 40 people in them. And so here's what we're going to do, just to alleviate the pain a little bit and to give people an opportunity. We're actually launching 2 new R groups, additional R groups today. This week will be the first week to do it. David and Margaret, some friends of mine, are leading it, one of the groups, and they're going through the book of James. So like whatever we talk about on Sunday, they're going to dive deeper during the week, have some personal application, do some study questions. And so they're going to host that. So if you're here and you didn't get into an R group or you want to get into one, like great opportunity. We've got a couple that are opening up. You can swing by the Connection Bar at the end of the service. We'll give you the info. And they haven't met yet. And so it's not like you're going to be the one late to the party. Like, you can jump in. So if you leave today and you're like, hey, I'd like to talk more about the James stuff and dig down deeper, then that's your spot. But if you do have your journal, you can flip it to James chapter 1, verse 12. We're just going to pick up where we left off. Or if you have the app, you can follow along. The notes will be on the screen. We're going to start in verse 12 as James introduces this idea of temptation. Here's what James said. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial. For when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I'm being tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, and God himself, God doesn't tempt anyone. In verses 12 and 13, we see two different words that James is going to use kind of interchangeably. He says there are two things you're going to face in life. We've already talked about the trials, the tests that you and I will face. Those tests comes from God. They're meant to develop us. They're meant to help us move to the next level in our walk with him. But you're not just going to pass test and face test. There's another word that you're going to face. It starts with a T. It's temptations. And James makes it very clear, temptations do not come from God. We got to be clear on that. Like, God is not like giggling and smirking behind the door, like, and he's put a temptation in front of you, and he's waiting on you to fall for it, to grab it. And then when you mess up and you fall, God's not going to jump out from behind the door and be like, ha, got you. See, I told you. I knew I could trick you. Like, that's not God. God would never do that. God doesn't want you to sin. He's not going to tempt you to sin and to go away from him in any way. Tests are meant to develop us. They come from God. Temptations are meant to destroy us, and they come from Satan. They come from two totally different areas. But interestingly, James says either one, you got an opportunity to grow. You're going to face both of them, the good and the bad, the difficult and the opportunity, the minus and the addition. But listen, like, your test is either way. You're going to have an opportunity to respond to them in one way, shape, or form. And he says that you are going to be tempted by these things. You're going to face trials of many different kinds. I like the NLT. The NLT version says, they actually use the word in the same verse. It says, God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Testing and temptation. So we've talked about the test. I want to talk about the temptation together today. If you're lucky, I'll show you how I cast this rod and reel. Each person, verse 14, but each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Each one of us, every person, including Jesus, faces temptation. Temptation is not a sin. We will face it every single day. Each person is tempted, and I think it's interesting the words that James uses here to describe what the temptation is it's lure, like a fishing lure. You will be lured and enticed. Enticed is a hunting word used to set a trap and enticement for an animal. So you're going to be hunting and fishing. You're going to face temptations, and it's going to be a lure and an enticement for you. This was a sobering thing that I understood and realized from this text this week that I want to challenge you with. It's the first thing that I want to put on your radar as far as temptation goes. And I want you to, like, this week, man, I've been feeling the weight of this. Here's what James tells us. Someone is fishing for you. Someone, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little red hook right here. Someone, Scripture says, has a hook that in your life is just dangling in front of you, waiting to see if he can trip you up, waiting to see if you will literally and figuratively take the bait, waiting to see, just waving it in front of you, hoping that you will fall. Like, that was a sobering thing for me this week to realize someone is fishing for you. In 1 Peter 5:8, it says that Satan is prowling around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to kill and devour. Satan has come to steal and destroy in your life. And one of the ways that he does it is by luring you with temptation, simply waving something in front of you. I bought this rod this week from Walmart just to bring up here on stage, and it was $12, and I made the mistake of asking the man that runs the fishing department in Walmart for some advice. Approximately 23 minutes later, I am slowly backing away, trying to get out. This man knew everything there was to know about fishing. This man said, "Where are you fishing?" And I was just like, "Well, it's actually at church. It's a long story." He's like, "Well, is it going to be sunny outside or cloudy? Because that's going to determine your bait." "What are you fishing for, bass or brim? Are you fishing on a boat or on a dock? Is it going to be hot or cold outside? Show me all, tell me all these, because all of these baits in here," and there was multiple aisles of fishing baits. There was stuff that I learned about fishing that I thought was great and things I didn't care to learn at all about fishing. There's a lot to know. And if Walmart's listening, you got the right guy in that section. And he told me all about it. And this guy, he said these companies, they spend tens of thousands of hours researching what these baits should look like, and hundreds of thousands of dollars researching what would make a fish bite. And they do all kind of interesting things to it. They will paint fish scales on the side of these hard baits to make it look like a real fish, and they'll mix different colors together and different materials together, and all of it is to trick the fish. And it dawned on me, if you think that a fishing company is spending tens of thousands of hours and dollars trying to trick a fish into biting it for entertainment, you need to know there is someone that is watching game film on you. Satan knows more about you than you know about you. Satan knows your struggles. Satan knows where he can trick you. He knows what buttons to press. He knows the time of day where you are most susceptible. He knows the exact temptation that you are most likely to fall into at the right time. I mean, he's fishing for you. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that there is someone that is watching your game film so that at the right time, with just the right bait and the right twitch of the rod and the right weather, he knows what'll make you bite. Man, that was extremely sobering to me that Satan was watching me. That Satan has a plan to make you fall, to tempt you in various ways. There's someone that is fishing for you. And number two, second thing I want you to write down, because I think we get this wrong about temptation a lot. When I say the word temptation, normally one or two words might come to your mind, one or two subjects. But number two is this. I learned this in Walmart, and I learned this from temptation. There are different types of baits. Here's what Satan knows. The bait that would tempt me might not be the same bait that'll tempt you. And so he knows what to wiggle in front of me and what to wiggle in front of you. There's a lot of different baits. I'm getting ready to say possibly the most redneck thing I've ever said from the stage here, but I learned it in Walmart yesterday. There are 7 different types of fishing baits in the world today. Let me read them all for you. I know you're interested. Spoons, jigs, spinners, flies, plugs, soft plastic baits, and hard baits. I was shown a personal tour of all 7 of these yesterday. He said, "Have you ever seen a spoon before?" I said, "Well, look at me. Does it look like I've seen a spoon before?" He's like, "No, the bait." I said, "No. You know what a spoon is? A spoon is just a shiny piece of metal. And it's designed for the light to reflect off of it, and just the shimmer of it will cause a fish as it swims by, a fish to strike, even though it's just a piece of metal." Do you know how many shiny objects you and I get tempted with? The glitz, the glamour. And all it is just a little shimmer. And Satan knows, I can get their attention with that. Oh yeah, just something new, just something fancy, just something that glistens and glitters and shines. I can get them distracted with that. I can tempt them with it. For all of his work, I felt like I owed a bag of worms, so I did buy a bag of worms yesterday after he explained it to him. And so sometimes these are plastic worms. This particular color, if you're interested, is a watermelon pearl. So they have these at Walmart if you're a big watermelon pearl fisherman. I don't know if this is how you do it, but I'm going to do it like that. I noticed something when I took these worms out of the container. They're slippery. So I read on the back, they call it enzymes. I call it grease. It feels like they're covered with grease. and the grease is salty. And so I was looking, don't ask me how I know. Judgment-free zone, it's salty. I found out after I was Googling, is it bad to lick a fake plastic worm? Should it taste salty? I found out why they were salty. They rub them in salt, hopefully in human food grade salt. They rub them in salt because when the fish strikes it, they want it to taste good so that they'll swallow it, because it's more likely that you'll actually hook the fish and land the fish if the fish puts the hook like deep into its mouth. Do you know how many hungers and thirsts and desires that we have that Satan knows exactly what you like to taste? Like, he knows it. He knows it's like a salty worm. Like, Satan's like, I can get some of y'all with this. Like, I can wiggle this right here in front of you, and you'll smell it, and you'll taste it, and some of y'all will be idiots and lick it, and and here it is. Like, he knows what to do. Reality, man, like, none of us are probably going to jump at this worm. But there are other things that Satan does know how to tempt us with in life. For some people, all Satan has to do is put this in front of you. It's like, here we go. You like this? You want some more of this? Yeah, you like money. You want more money. Hey, kudos to you guys. You're here today, but there are some people that will choose to work on Sunday. And they'll just say, church is not my thing. God's not my thing. I'm not going to move forward in my relationship with Jesus. I'd rather be at work making money. And this is all Satan had to dangle in front of you to convince you that you don't need to grow in your relationship with Jesus anymore. Just a little temptation. He knows, man. Satan's got a tackle box full of all of the stuff. And he knows exactly what to cast, in what situation, in what weather, in what person, and sometimes that's all it takes. Man, for some people it's money like that. For other people it's power. Like we want to get to the top. And I don't care who we got to step on or what we got to do or how we got to compromise ourselves and what corners we got to cut. But I want to be the boss. I want to be successful. I want to be known. I want people to understand who I am and what I'm all about. For some people, we have this insatiable desire for approval and acceptance from people. Maybe you were lacking that growing up. And it can tempt us to do all kinds of crazy things. Like I've seen people that in order to make themselves look better, they'll be tempted to gossip about somebody else, to tear them down, because tearing them down will make me look better. And it's all this desire to make ourselves look better and to build ourselves up and to pat ourselves on the back and for people to like us and respect us. And man, maybe the temptation to have a certain image that you portray to everyone will make you compromise in some areas. Make you do some things that you're probably not proud of, that you've minimalized and done for so long that maybe it's even kind of etched your conscience a little bit about why you do it. Man, I don't know what you're tempted in. Maybe it's influence, popularity, maybe it's finances, maybe it's to be loved. But here's what James is very clear on. This is how sneaky Satan is. Oh man, he's sneaky. He says, the way that you will be tempted is with your own desires. Satan will take something that God put in your heart, a desire that is completely harmless. Desires in and of themselves are not bad. They're not wrong. But here's what Satan will do. He'll take a desire that God put in your heart and he'll just fake it, counterfeit it a little bit, turn it some to make it look different and convince you that no, this is just as good and it is the real thing. And just trust me. And our own desires, Satan begins to manipulate them. And all we want to do is just satisfy our natural desires and our thirsts and our longings in our heart. And Satan says, yep, I can exploit that. God gave that to you, but I can actually exploit that. But the Bible is clear that when it comes to temptation for you and I, that you and I are responsible for the decisions that we make. That's why James says, hey man, let's just be real. God doesn't tempt you. Because there are some people that get tempted and then they fail in their temptation, and you know what they do? They look up and blame God. Well, if God hadn't given me these desires, if God hadn't allowed these things to happen, then it wouldn't happen. Sometimes we will blame others. Well, everybody else is doing it. We fall into temptation. We make a decision that we regret. And we say, well, everybody else is doing it. I mean, come on. I'm not going to be a lone ranger out here. And so what do? We blame everybody else. They did it first, and it was peer pressure, and so we blame God, we blame people. Sometimes we blame the devil. You ever had somebody blame the devil? Like, well, the devil made me do it. When did you start listening to the devil? Okay? Like, back up. If the devil tells you to do it, I wouldn't do it. Like, I wouldn't do that. And then, well, the devil made me do it. Of course. He's fishing for you. Like, that's just like the fish getting caught, and there's just like, well, the fisherman made me do it. What? No, man. You are responsible for it. Sometimes we'll blame things that happened in our past. I've met with people that had a rough upbringing in their life, and they're making poor decisions now because they say, well, my parents divorced, and that caused a lot of friction in my life growing up, or some things happened to me. And I'm not downsizing or minimalizing the things that might have happened to you, but when we fall into temptation, it's us. It's our responsibility. We got to take responsibility for our actions, for what we do. James says it's not God's fault. It's not somebody else's fault. Like, it's us. We have to take responsibility for that. Verse 15 says this, then desire, when it is conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. You see this progression here in Scripture. And sometimes, man, when we think about temptation, we might ask the word, who cares? Right? Who cares? I mean, temptation is so small. It seems so minimal. What's the deal? What's the problem with a little temptation? Okay, so sometimes I'm a little flirty. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, all right, so when taxes roll around, like, sometimes I'll tweak the numbers a little bit. I'm not cheating, it's tweaking, okay? And it's not, who are we stealing from? The government? Who's going to be a more responsible person with that money? You or the government? Exactly, you. So you might as well keep it, right? Little compromises like that. And what happens is, James says, it always starts small like that. Just little compromises, little things that lead us down a path of destruction. It's not going to hurt anybody. Come on, we're just going to do it once or twice. It won't lead down the wrong path. It's nothing. Third thing we have is this: temptation always starts small. That's what makes it so dangerous. Someone is fishing for you, and he's got a tackle box full of different baits to entice you, and it's always going to start small. That's why it's so dangerous. Let me give you an example. Sometimes we'll minimalize sin so much that it becomes acceptable, more palatable to us. Here's an example, lying, right? Sometimes when we lie, we don't really say that we're lying. And so we have made up a whole new set of words for lying that are not as bad as lying. And even if we do say lie, we'll say, well, it was a little lie. And it was like a little white lie. Well, I didn't lie. It was just an exaggeration. It was the truth. I just stretched it some. That's all. I mean, it was majority of it, right? I just, a little embellishment. I remember growing up, my mom and dad didn't call it lies. They call it fibs. Did your mom ever say that? He's like, Nathan, did you just tell a fib? Fib is cute, right? You hear fibs like, oh, he told a fib, right? That's so much better than you're a liar, right? That's what James says. It just starts small, just little compromises. And we begin to justify it in our minds that it's not that big of a deal, and it slowly progresses. And James says, if you don't watch out, here's what you got to understand. Small compromises lead to sin and lead to death in our lives. Always starts small, though. One seemingly harmless desire that we have met the wrong way then sends us down the wrong path. I want to challenge you. You can't resist the bait if you don't know what the bait is. And so I got to challenge you, like, you need to know what tempts you. You need to know that thing that when Satan wiggles it in front of your eyes, it feels like your eyes go to it every single time. You have fallen for it many times before. You got to recognize, what is it? What is it in my life? Because it's not the same for me as it might be for you. So what is it for you? How can we fight temptation? James says, man, if we recognize this, like, I'm all about on the backside of temptation and grace and forgiveness and restoration and what God can do. But what if we learned how to fight temptation on the front end so that it never led to picking up the pieces on the back end? That's what James is talking about here. It's going to lead to death. It leads down that road. Here's the last two verses. Do not be deceived, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. Here's the last thing. Here's the secret. James is going to tell you. I'm going to tell you how you can avoid falling into temptation. It's number 4. Don't buy the lie. There's a lie that Satan likes to tell that says you have natural desires, and whatever I'm wiggling in front of you is going to make you happy. Change the baits. Whatever he puts in front of you, like if you'll just, I know it's an imitation, I know it's very close to it, I know it's not the real thing, but it's very close to it, and I'm telling you, man, it'll scratch the itch. I'm telling you, it'll be good for you. I'm telling you, once you taste it, you're really going to like it. And James says, like, once you see the true thing, once you realize, like there's no one in here when given the opportunity to have something that was authentic and to have something that was fake would knowingly choose the fake thing. Like if he was like, hey, I've got like a designer handbag and I got one that I bought in a back alley for $15 with the logo that's backwards, nobody's going to choose the fake one. And James says, once you see Jesus for who he really is, remember, that's what happened to James. That's what changed James's life. He saw Jesus after he rose from the dead and said, now I see you for who you really are. Once you see Jesus for who he really is, your life will never be the same. And the way that you fight falling for the cheap imitation is you fall in love with the real thing. So he says, listen, know Jesus, know his word. Understand that every good, true, pure purpose that God has for you comes from God. It's not some cheap imitation. There's no shortcut to it. You don't have to compromise your morals and standards for it. Like everything that comes from God is good. And so once you get your eyes set on the real thing, the fake thing will become less and less and less in your eyes. You just won't have an appetite for it anymore. It's like, why would you want that when you could actually have the real thing? Stare temptation down in the face and recognize the temptation for what it is. It's a trap. It's an imitation. It's cheap. It's not the real thing. Will leave you empty still every time. When you learn who God is, really is, you learn there's no substitute for it. There's no other one like him. There is no one that has ever loved you like Jesus. There's no one that has ever sacrificed his son for your sins like God did with his. There is no other one that has never left you or forsaken you. There is no other one that will welcome you back with open arms every time that you have left, extending grace. There is no other one than Jesus. And James, first half of his life, blew it. Didn't even know what was standing right in front of him. All those sermons that Jesus preached, all the miracles that he did, he has eyes focused on some other purpose in life, some other plan. And then he met Jesus. I want you to know Jesus this morning. Like the real deal. I'm telling you, you learn Jesus, you know him, you meet him for the very first time. All the other stuff that is currently serving as a distraction and an imitation and a temptation that's meant to destroy will pale in comparison to having a relationship with the one true God. And the same Jesus that changed James's life is the same Jesus that changed my life and the same Jesus that can change yours. And so I want to give you an opportunity to have your life changed by Jesus. Let me pray for you. God, we're tired of chasing cheap imitations of fulfillment and satisfaction. God, we want the real thing. We're tired of coming up empty by chasing all of our desires and our hungers and thirsts, only to realize that it was a trap, that the temptation was there to destroy us, to deceive us. God, there is an enemy that is fishing for us right now. So God, we need the clarity and the boldness to recognize an imitation when it's in front of us and to run and cling to the real thing. So God, for those of us that struggle with temptation every single day, I pray that you would help us to keep our eyes focused on you. And God, for those that have never met you, God, I pray that you would open up their eyes and help them to understand that the one thing that they're searching for, that desire that they've been looking for so long, stands in front of them and knocks at the door right now, and his name is Jesus. God, give us the wisdom to know what to do with the words that we've just heard, and the courage to spot temptation and to run towards you this week, to pass not only trials and the tests, but to avoid the temptations that stand in front of us. They want to wreck our lives. God, all for your glory, for your honor. We love you. I ask that in your son Jesus' name.